The cargo ship drifted toward the massive border station like a tired bird seeking rest. Inside the cockpit, Yuna pressed her face against the cold glass and watched the structure grow larger with each passing minute. She had never seen anything so enormous. The station looked like a metal flower blooming in the darkness of space, with hundreds of lights blinking across its surface. "Stop staring like a tourist," Hyun said from the pilot seat. His rough voice made her jump. "We're here for fuel and clearance, nothing more. Keep your head down and let me do the talking." Yuna nodded and pulled back from the window. She trusted Hyun. He had been flying cargo ships for 30 years and knew every corner of this part of space. When her colony needed someone to transport their goods to the trading posts, everyone said Hyun was the only pilot brave enough to make the journey. The communications panel buzzed to life. A strange clicking sound came through the speakers, followed by words in the common trade language. "Vessel approaching station, identify yourself and prepare for standard processing." Hyun leaned forward and pressed the transmit button. "This is cargo hauler designation 743. Captain Hyun requesting refuel and route clearance." "Acknowledged. Proceed to docking bay 12. All crew members must report for voice identification and biological scanning." Yuna felt her stomach tighten. She had heard stories about the border stations. Some travelers said the aliens who ran them were fair and professional. Others whispered darker tales about ships that docked and never left. The ship shuddered as the docking clamps locked into place. Hyun powered down the engines and stood up, stretching his back with a loud groan. "Remember what I said? Quick and quiet." They walked through the airlock and into the station. Yuna had to stop herself from staring again. The corridor was filled with creatures she had only seen in old database pictures. Tall beings with too many arms, short ones with scaled skin that shimmered under the lights. Something that looked like it was made entirely of floating crystals drifted past them without making a sound. The customs office was a large room with several processing stations. A creature that resembled a giant insect sat behind one of the desks. Its multiple eyes moved independently, watching different parts of the room at once. When Hyun and Yuna approached, it gestured with one of its forearms toward two chairs. "Sit," it said. Its voice came from a translator device on its chest. Voice identification first, then biological scan, then cargo inspection. Hyun sat down and placed his hand on a glowing panel. "Captain Hyun, human. Colony designation Sabyok Settlement." A beam of light scanned across his face. The computer made a soft beeping sound. Voice pattern recorded. Identity confirmed. Species human variant. Colony registration verified. The insect creature's eyes all turned toward Yuna. "Next." She sat in the chair and placed her trembling hand on the panel. "Yuna, human, same colony." The light beam touched her face. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the computer made a different sound. Not a beep, but a long, drawn-out tone that made everyone in the room stop what they were doing. The screen in front of the insect creature flashed red. Words appeared in a language Yuna couldn't read, but she saw the creature's entire body stiffen. It clicked its mandibles together rapidly, which Hyun had once told her was a sign of confusion or alarm in its species. "What's wrong?" Hyun asked, already half standing from his chair. The insect creature didn't answer. Instead, it pressed several buttons on its console. More aliens hurried into the room, including one wearing what looked like a commander's uniform. This one was taller than the others and had smooth purple skin that seemed to glow faintly. The commander looked at the screen, then at Yuna, then back at the screen. When it spoke, its voice was filled with something that sounded like disbelief. "Run the analysis again." "This cannot be correct." The insect creature obeyed. Once more, the light scanned Yuna's face. Once more, the strange tone filled the room. This time, the computer spoke in a flat mechanical voice. Linguistic pattern match confirmed. Terran origin standard. Dialect classification. Ancient Earth. Regional markers detected. Korean linguistic substrate. Phonetic patterns match historical records from pre-diaspora Earth archives. The room went completely silent. Even the background hum of the station seemed to fade away. Every alien in the customs office was staring at Yuna now. The purple commander stepped closer. "That is impossible. Earth was destroyed 280 years ago. There are no survivors. There are no colonies." Hyun stood up fully now, moving slightly in front of Yuna. "I don't know what your machine is saying, but we're from Sabyok Settlement. It's registered in your database. We've been trading here for decades. Your colony registration shows human inhabitants, yes," the commander said slowly. But it lists your origin as Frontier Expansion Program, Fourth Wave. Those colonies were established after Earth's destruction. They were populated by humans who had already been living in space for generations. Their speech patterns evolved separately. They no longer carry the pure linguistic markers of Earth. The commander's eyes never left Yuna. But her voice. The computer recognizes patterns that should not exist anymore. Patterns from Earth itself, from a specific region of that planet. How is this possible? Yuna found her voice, though it came out smaller than she intended. My grandparents used to tell stories about Earth. They said our people came from a place called Korea. They taught us to speak the way they spoke. We kept the old words alive. For 280 years, the commander sounded doubtful. Across multiple generations, languages change. They drift. They blend with others. But your voice, the computer says it sounds like someone who left Earth only yesterday. More security officers entered the room. They carried weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. Hyun tensed, but the commander raised a hand. You are not under arrest, it said, but you are definitely not leaving. Not yet. We need to understand what this means. If humans still exist who carry pure Earth linguistic patterns, then everything we know about Earth's destruction might be wrong. The commander touched a device on its wrist. Prepare secure quarters for our guests. Comfortable quarters. And send a message to the archive station. Tell them we have found something impossible. Tell them we have found a voice from Earth, a voice that should not exist. Yuna looked at Hyun. He reached over and squeezed her shoulder, trying to offer comfort, but she could see the worry in his eyes. They had come here for fuel and clearance. Now they were prisoners, and all because of the way she spoke. The computer's words echoed in her mind. We haven't heard that accent in ages. How long was ages? And what had happened to all the other people who had spoken like her? Where was Earth? Why did everyone think it was destroyed? As the security officers escorted them from the customs office, Yuna realized that answering one simple question had opened a door to 1,000 more. And behind that door, there were secrets that someone had worked very hard to keep hidden. 3 days passed before they moved Yuna and Hyun from the border station. The quarters had been comfortable, just as the commander promised, but the locked door made it clear they were prisoners. Guards brought them food 3 times a day. The meals were strange but edible, designed for species with biology similar to humans. On the morning of the 4th day, the purple commander returned. You are being transferred to the archive station. There are people there who need to meet you. What kind of people? Hyun asked, his arms crossed over his chest. Historians, scientists, those who study the past. The commander paused, and perhaps someone who remembers your kind. The journey to the archive station took 6 hours on a fast transport ship. Yuna spent most of it looking out the window at the endless stars. Somewhere out there was her home. Somewhere out there were answers. The archive station was different from the border post. Where the first station had been all metal and sharp edges, this one looked ancient. Its outer walls were made of dark stone that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Symbols were carved into the surface, writing in languages Yuna had never seen. An elderly alien met them at the docking bay. It walked on 4 legs and had a long neck that curved gracefully. Its skin was covered in patterns that shifted colors like oil on water. When it spoke, its voice was soft and musical. I am Telmara, keeper of the archives. I have been waiting a very long time to meet someone like you. Someone like me? Yuna asked. A human with Earth's voice still living in your throat. Telmara gestured with its head toward a corridor. Please follow me. There is much to discuss, and I am afraid some of it will be difficult to hear. They walked through halls lined with data storage units and preservation chambers. Telmara moved slowly as if each step caused pain. I am old even by my species standards. I was young when the humans disappeared. I remember them well. Disappeared? Hyun said sharply. We were told Earth was destroyed. That is what the Council wants everyone to believe. It is simpler that way. Telmara stopped in front of a large door, but the truth is more complicated and more shameful. The door opened into a vast circular room. The walls were covered floor to ceiling with storage units. In the center stood a single chamber made of clear material. Inside, suspended in some kind of stasis field, was a human man. He appeared to be sleeping. Yuna gasped and stepped closer. Who is he? His name is Day. He was placed in stasis 275 years ago, shortly before the humans left. He volunteered to become what they called a living record, someone who could tell the truth if it was ever needed. The truth about what? Yuna touched the chamber with her fingertips. Telemara's colors shifted to darker shades. The truth about why humans left. You see, child, Earth was not destroyed. It was abandoned. But not because humans wanted to leave. They were forced to. Hyun moved to stand beside Yuna. Forced by who? By the Galactic Council. By beings like me, though I was not part of the decision. Telemara's voice carried deep sadness. Humans were different from every other species the Council had encountered. You expanded quickly. You adapted to any environment. You created new technologies at a pace that frightened the older civilizations. Most of all, you refused to accept limitations. The old alien walked around the chamber slowly. Other species, when we reach the boundaries of what we can do, we accept it. We are comfortable with our place in the galaxy. But humans always pushed further. Always asked why not instead of accepting this is how it is. It made you unpredictable. Dangerous, some said. So they killed us? Yuna's voice was barely a whisper. No. Worse. They exiled you. The Council created a crisis, made it seem like Earth's sun was dying. They offered to help evacuate, but only if humanity agreed to live under strict rules. Rules that would limit your growth, your innovation, your freedom to expand. Telemara's colors flickered. Humanity's leaders saw through the deception. They knew the sun was fine. They knew it was a trap. So they made a choice. They chose to leave on their own terms. They took their ships and scattered across uncharted space beyond the Council's reach. They chose freedom over safety, exile over submission. But why keep it secret? Hyun demanded. Why lie about Earth being destroyed? Because the Council was afraid other species might admire what humans did. Might follow your example. Better to say you were all dead than to admit you chose to leave rather than accept their control. Telemara moved to a console and pressed several buttons. After humans left, the Council sealed all records of Earth. They made it forbidden to study human history or technology. But some of us disagreed with this decision. We saved what we could and hid it here, in the deepest parts of the archives, including him. The chamber began to hum. The stasis field flickered and faded. Inside, Day's eyes moved beneath his closed eyelids. His fingers twitched. You're waking him? Yuna asked, her heart pounding. Your voice unlocked the archives. The systems recognized Earth's language patterns in your speech. They knew you were truly human, not just descended from humans. The protocols state that if such a person is found, the witness should be awakened. Slowly, like someone rising from a deep sleep, Day opened his eyes. At first they were unfocused. Then they found Yuna's face. He blinked several times and tried to speak, but his voice came out as a rough croak. Telemara handed him a container of water. He drank deeply, then tried again. How long? 275 years, Telemara said gently. Day closed his eyes and breathed slowly. When he opened them again, there were tears on his face. Did anyone come back? Did they ever come looking? No, Telemara said. You are the only human who has been in Council space since the Exodus. Then they made it, Day said, and despite the tears, he smiled. They really did it. They survived out there on their own. He looked at Yuna. You're human. Real human. Not one of the Council's genetic experiments or some clone. Where are you from? Saebyuk Settlement. It's a colony world about 2 months from here by cargo ship. And your people, they still speak Korean? The old language? Yes, my grandparents insisted on it. They said it was important to remember where we came from. Day laughed, though it sounded more like a sob. Your grandparents were right. Language carries memory. It carries identity. The Council wanted to erase both. He stood up slowly, his legs weak from centuries of disuse. I need to see the records. I need to know what happened after we left. Telemara guided him to a console. Together, they began accessing files that had been sealed for nearly 3 centuries. Yuna and Hyun watched as screens filled with data, images, and text. There, Day said, pointing to a file. The evacuation coordinates. The rally points we established. If any colonies survived, they would have started from these locations. He pulled up a star chart. Dozens of markers appeared, scattered across a region of space far from any Council territory. We spread out deliberately, made sure no single disaster could destroy all of humanity. Each group went in a different direction. These are outside all known space, Hyun said, studying the map. We would need special clearance to travel there. Clearance the Council would never give. Then we don't ask for permission, Day said. His eyes had regained their focus now, burning with determination. If there are humans out there, if the colony survived, they need to know the truth. They need to know why Earth fell silent. And maybe, he paused, looking at the others, maybe it's time to stop hiding. Time to come home. Telmara's color shifted to something that might have been worry. The Council will not allow it. If they learn humans survived and thrived without them, it will undermine everything they have built over the past 3 centuries. Good, Day said simply. Let it fall apart. They earned it when they chose fear over friendship. Yuna felt something stirring in her chest, something that had been sleeping just like Day. A sense of connection to people she had never met, to a world she had never seen, to a history that had been stolen and hidden. How do we find them? She asked. How do we reach the other colonies? Day smiled. The same way you found me, with a voice that refuses to be forgotten. The dead zone got its name honestly. No ships traveled through this region of space. No traders, no explorers, no military vessels. The star charts marked it as empty, worthless, dangerous. But Day's memories told a different story. This is where the evacuation fleet gathered before the final jump, he explained as they approached the coordinates. Telmara had helped them steal a fast scout ship, providing them with security codes and safe routes away from the archive station. The old keeper had chosen to stay behind, promising to misdirect anyone who came looking for them. Hyun piloted the ship deeper into the zone. Space here looked darker somehow, as if the stars themselves avoided this place. I'm picking up something on the long-range sensors. Multiple large objects, no power signatures. That's them, Day said quietly. The ships we left behind. As they drew closer, the view screen showed what had been hidden in the darkness. Ships, hundreds of them. Thousands, maybe. They hung in space like sleeping giants, their hulls cold and silent. Some were massive colony vessels, designed to carry tens of thousands of people. Others were cargo haulers, military escorts, research stations. Everything humanity had possessed when they fled. It's a graveyard, Yuna whispered. No, Day said. It's a promise. We left these ships here deliberately. We took only what we needed to survive and left the rest. If anyone ever came looking, if anyone ever wanted to know what happened to Earth, the evidence would be here. A voice crackled over the communications channel, making everyone jump. Unknown vessel, this is Salvage Captain Jiwon. You're in claimed territory. State your business or turn around. Hyun exchanged a look with Day. Salvage Captain? Someone else is here? Day leaned toward the microphone. Captain Jiwon, this is Day, I'm human. We're looking for the evacuation fleet records. A long silence followed. Then the voice came back, different now. Careful. Did you say you're human? How old are you? Chronologically? 312 years old.
Biologically?
37. I was in stasis, another pause. Come to coordinates I'm sending you. Slowly. Any fast moves and my crew fires first and asks questions later. The coordinates led them to one of the larger derelict ships. As they approached, Yuna could see lights moving across its hull. A smaller vessel was docked to its side, and several figures in spacesuits were working on the exterior. They docked carefully and cycled through the airlock. Inside, the old ship still had emergency power running. Dim lights flickered in the corridors. The air was cold but breathable. A woman waited for them in what had once been the ship's cargo bay. She was human, probably in her mid-40s, with short black hair and sharp eyes that studied them carefully. Behind her stood a young boy, maybe 12 years old, holding a tool that could easily be used as a weapon. I'm Jiwon, the woman said. This is Minho. We've been working these wrecks for 5 years now. You're the first living people we've met who claim to be from the original fleet. The original fleet left 3 centuries ago, Day said. I was part of it. These two are from a colony that survived. How did you end up here? Jiwon's expression softened slightly. My parents were salvagers. They found this place by accident and realized what it was. They spent years exploring the ships, gathering technology, trying to understand what happened. When I was Minho's age, they died in an accident. I kept their work going. She gestured around the cargo bay. Most of these ships still have their data cores intact. I've been collecting logs, records, anything that tells the story. The Council doesn't come here, so it's safe. Forgotten. We need to see those records, Day said urgently. Jiwon studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Follow me. She led them deeper into the ship to what had been the captain's quarters. The room was filled with data storage units, screens, and equipment that looked cobbled together from a dozen different sources. G1 powered up several displays. I've organized everything by date and ship. The earliest logs are from the initial evacuation order. The last ones are from the final jump preparation. Day moved to the screens and began searching through files with practiced ease. His hands moved quickly across the controls. Here, the captain's final report from the flagship. A woman's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, but her voice was steady. This is Captain Yunji of the Unity, recording final log before Exodus. The Council's ultimatum has been rejected. We will not accept their restrictions. We will not allow them to turn humanity into something small and manageable. Better to face the unknown than to live in a cage. She paused, looking directly into the camera. We are leaving behind these vessels as evidence. If anyone finds them, know this. Earth did not fall. Earth did not surrender. Earth chose freedom. We are heading to uncharted space, to systems beyond the Council's reach. We will scatter, we will adapt, and we will survive. That is what humans do. We estimate it will take several generations to establish stable colonies. Communications will be difficult across such distances. Some groups may lose contact with others, but we have encoded beacon signals in all our ships. When the time is right, when we are strong enough, we will activate them. We will find each other again. And perhaps someday we will return. The captain's image flickered. To anyone watching this, humanity is not dead. We are out there in the dark, building something new, something free. Do not mourn us. Do not forget us. And if you are human, if our descendants find this message, know that your ancestors chose dignity over submission. Remember that. Honor that. The screen went dark. Yuna realized she was crying and didn't care. Beside her, Hyun had his hand over his mouth. Even Minho looked emotional. There's more, G1 said softly. She pulled up another file. Technical specifications. The Council has been using human technology for centuries, but they've hidden its origin. The faster-than-light drives in their ships? Human design. The universal translators? Human innovation. The medical scanners, the power systems, the artificial gravity. Dozens of other technologies. All human. They took everything we left behind and claimed it as their own, Day said bitterly. Not everything. Ji-won opened another display. The beacon system Captain Yunji mentioned? I found it. It's still here in the flagship's core. Dormant but functional. With the right activation codes, it could send a signal across most of the galaxy. Could it reach the colony coordinates? Day asked, leaning forward. I think so. The system is designed to penetrate subspace and broadcast on frequencies the Council doesn't monitor. If there are human colonies at those locations, and if they still have receivers, they would hear it. Day turned to look at the others. We have to activate it. We have to call them home. The Council will notice, Hyun said. A signal that powerful will show up on their monitors. They'll come here in force? Let them come, Day said. Let them see what they tried to bury. Let them face what they did. Ji-won nodded slowly. I've been waiting 5 years for someone to say that. Minho and I will help. But once we start, we can't stop. The beacon needs several hours to charge and transmit. We'll have to defend it. We don't have weapons, Yuna pointed out. These ships do. Ji-won smiled grimly. Most of the military escorts still have their armories intact. I've been maintaining some of the systems just in case. We salvagers learned to be prepared. They spent the next several hours making preparations. Ji-won and Minho showed them how to power up some of the derelict ship's defense systems. Day worked on the beacon, his fingers remembering codes and procedures from 3 centuries ago. Hyun moved their scout ship to a better defensive position. Yuna found herself in the flagship's command center, looking at the captain's chair where Yunji had sat when she made that final recording. She ran her hand over the armrest, feeling the worn material. They were so brave, she said aloud. They were terrified, Day said from behind her. I remember. We all were, leaving behind everything we knew, jumping into the unknown with no guarantee we'd survive. But sometimes being brave means doing what's right even when you're scared. He moved to the beacon controls. The system is ready. Once I activate it, the signal will transmit continuously for 6 hours. That should be enough for it to reach the estimated locations of the colony fleets. Will they answer? Yuna asked. I don't know. Maybe they're all gone. Maybe they forgot Earth. Maybe they don't care anymore. Day smiled. But maybe they remember. Maybe they've been waiting for this call. Only one way to find out. He pressed the activation control. Deep in the flagship's core, Systems that had slept for 3 centuries woke up. Power flowed through ancient circuits. The beacon began to charge, building energy for its transmission. On the ship's external sensors, a light began to pulse. It grew brighter with each beat, like a heart coming back to life. The signal would be invisible to most species, transmitted on frequencies only human technology would recognize. But somewhere in the darkness, Una hoped, someone would hear it. Someone would remember. Someone would come home. The council learned about the beacon within 2 hours of its activation. Emergency sessions were called. Ancient protocols, untouched for centuries, were suddenly pulled from sealed archives and studied with desperate urgency. Counselor Vrex stood before the assembled members of the Galactic Council, his scaled skin flushed dark with agitation. He was old enough to have been alive during the human exodus, though he had been young then. Now he led the largest military faction in council space. The signal comes from the dead zone, he announced. The location where humans abandoned their fleet before they disappeared. Someone has reactivated their beacon system. A murmur ran through the chamber. One of the representatives, a being made of crystalline structures, spoke up. That region has been quarantined for centuries. How did anyone gain access? That is being investigated. What matters now is the beacon itself. It broadcasts on human frequencies, carrying human encryption codes. If there are surviving human colonies, they will hear it. They will know where to find us. Another representative raised a tentacle. Is that not desirable? Humans possessed great knowledge. Their return could benefit all species. Vrex's colors darkened further. You did not know them as I did. Humans do not cooperate. They dominate, they push, they change things. Everything they touch becomes theirs eventually, not through force but through sheer persistence. They make others want to be like them, to think like them, to act like them. He activated a display showing the beacon's location. When we convinced them to leave, the council entered its most stable period in recorded history. No wars, no revolutions, no species trying to expand beyond their designated space. Perfect order. Perfect stagnation, a voice said from the back of the chamber. Everyone turned. A figure stepped forward, one that most representatives had not seen before. She appeared human but wore council diplomatic robes. Her name was Hannah, and she worked in the archives section that dealt with biological diversity records. You should not be here, Vrex said coldly. This is a closed session, and yet here I am. Hannah walked to the center of the chamber. I have clearance to speak on matters of historical accuracy. And Counselor Vrex is not being accurate. She activated her own display, showing economic and technological data. Since the human exodus, innovation has dropped by 73% across all council species. New technologies are developed at 1/10 the rate they were when humans were present. Medical advances have nearly stopped. Cultural exchange has become almost non-existent. That is the price of peace, Vrex said. That is the price of fear, Hannah countered. The council did not remove humans for the good of the galaxy. You removed them because they made you uncomfortable. Because they asked questions you could not answer. Because they refused to accept that this is how things are was good enough. She turned to address all the representatives. My grandmother was human. She chose to stay behind when the fleets left, hoping to be a bridge between her people and yours. The council placed her in a monitoring facility, where she lived out her life in isolation. I have her journals. I know what really happened. Vrex moved toward her threateningly. This is sedition. This is truth. Hannah stood her ground. And the beacon broadcasting from the dead zone is proof. Humans survived. They thrived without you, and now they might come back. Which is why we must act quickly, Vrex said. He turned back to the council. I propose we send a military fleet to the dead zone immediately. We shut down the beacon. We eliminate anyone who activated it. We ensure this threat never materializes. Several representatives objected, but others agreed. The chamber filled with arguing voices. While they debated, Hannah slipped away. In the dead zone, Day watched the countdown timer on the beacon. 3 more hours until the transmission cycle completed. On the sensors, he could see ships approaching. Lots of ships. The council had mobilized faster than he expected. We've got company, Yun called from the scout ship's cockpit. I count 20 vessels, all military configuration. They'll be in weapons range in 30 minutes. Ji-1 and Minho had managed to bring 3 of the derelict ship's defense systems online. It would not be enough. Not against 20 modern warships. We can't stop the beacon now, Day said. The system is locked into its transmission cycle. Shutting it down early would corrupt the signal. Then we buy time. Jiwan checked the weapon status. The old guns still work. We might surprise them. Yuna sat at a communications console listening to the Council fleet's transmissions. They were not even trying to hide their intent. They planned to destroy everything in the dead zone and claim it was a navigation accident. They're going to kill us, she said quietly. Probably, Day agreed. He smiled at her. But at least we'll go down fighting. That's very human of us. Before Yuna could respond, her console lit up with a new signal. Not from the Council fleet, from somewhere else. A fast-moving ship, small but highly advanced, coming from the direction of the archive station. The ship opened a communication channel. "D, this is Hana. I'm coming to you. The Council has authorized lethal force. You need to evacuate immediately." "Who's Hana?" Hyun asked. "A friend, apparently," Day said, opening the channel. "Hana, we can't leave. The beacon needs 3 more hours. Then I'll buy you time. I have security clearance. I can delay them." Hana's ship reached the dead zone ahead of the military fleet. She positioned herself between them and the derelict vessels, broadcasting Council priority codes. "This is Archive Keeper Hana, operating under historical preservation protocols. All military vessels must maintain distance from this site until proper documentation is completed." The fleet commander's voice came back, frustrated. "Archive Keeper, this is a Council military operation. Remove yourself immediately." "I'm sorry, Commander, but this site contains artifacts of historical significance. Any destructive action requires approval from the Archive Council." "I'm sure you filed the proper requests?" A pause. "This is not a preservation mission. This is a security response." "To what threat, Commander?" "These are derelict vessels. They've been here for centuries. The only change is that someone turned on an old beacon. That hardly constitutes a security emergency." While Hana argued with the fleet commander, Day worked frantically at his console. "She's giving us time, but not much. The fleet commander is getting ready to override her authority." "Can we fight them?" Minyo asked. The young boy had helped Jiwan so much that he now manned one of the defense stations. "No," Jiwan said bluntly, "but we can make them think twice before they shoot at us." She activated all the derelict ship's external lights at once. Suddenly, the dead fleet looked alive. Thousands of lights blazed across hundreds of hulls. The effect was dramatic and Jiwan hoped intimidating. The Council fleet hesitated. From their perspective, they were facing an unknown number of potentially active vessels. They had expected to destroy dormant wrecks, not engage with what might be defensive systems. Counselor Vrex's voice cut through the communications, cold and angry. "Archive Keeper Hana, you are relieved of duty. Fleet Commander, you are authorized to use all necessary force. Destroy those ships now." "Counselor, I must protest," the fleet commander said. "The tactical situation is unclear. These vessels may be armed. They are 300-year-old wrecks," Vrex snarled. "Fire!" The lead warship charged its weapons. On the derelict flagship, alarms began to sound. Jiwan prepared to fire back, knowing it would barely scratch the modern ship's shields. Then something changed. The Council warship's weapons powered down. Confused voices filled the communications channels. The fleet commander sounded alarmed. "Counselor, we're experiencing system failures. Our targeting computers just went offline." Day looked at his sensors in disbelief. "It's not just them. All 20 ships just lost their tactical systems." "How?" Hyun demanded. Hana's voice came over the private channel, and now she sounded pleased. "My grandmother was human. She taught me how humans think, how they prepare for contingencies. Before the Exodus, your people put backdoors in every piece of technology they gave the Council. Just in case. You shut down an entire fleet?" Day asked, amazed. "Temporarily. I accessed the Council's central network and activated protocols my grandmother left hidden in the code. The fleet systems will reboot in about 10 minutes. Is that enough time?" Day checked the beacon. "We need 2 more hours. Then I suggest you run. Get the beacon data, save everything you can, and go. I'll hold them here as long as possible." "They'll arrest you," Yuna said. "Let them. I've been quiet for too long." It's time someone stood up. Jiwan was already moving. "Minho, help me download the beacon data. If we can't finish the transmission, we'll take the signal itself and broadcast it from somewhere else." They worked quickly, copying decades of accumulated data onto portable drives. The beacon continued its transmission. its light pulsing across the dead zone. Hyun brought the scout ship alongside the flagship. Everyone aboard, now. As they evacuated, Yuna took one last look at the ghost fleet. So many ships, so many stories, so much evidence of what humanity had been. We'll come back, Day said, reading her thoughts. When we're stronger, when we have friends, we'll come back and make this place a monument instead of a graveyard. They fled into deep space just as the Council fleet's systems came back online. Behind them, the beacon continued to pulse. The Council declared Day, Yuna, Hyun, Jiwon, and Minho wanted criminals. Their faces appeared on every security network across Council space. Charges included theft of historical artifacts, destruction of Council property, unauthorized activation of prohibited technology, and conspiracy to destabilize galactic peace. Hana was arrested and placed under investigation. The Council tried to keep it quiet, but word spread. Some species expressed support for her actions. Others demanded harsher punishment. The galaxy, so stable and peaceful for centuries, began to show cracks. In a safe house on a remote trading station, Day studied the beacon data they had managed to save. The signal reached at least 40% of the target coordinates before they shut us down. If anyone was listening, they heard it. And if no one was listening? Minho asked. The boy had been quiet since their escape, processing everything that had happened. Then we keep trying, Yuna said firmly. We find another way. Days passed. Then weeks. The Council posted rewards for their capture. Bounty hunters searched every corner of known space. But the group kept moving, helped by sympathetic traders and station operators who disagreed with the Council's actions. On the 33rd day after the beacon's activation, Hyun burst into the room where the others were sleeping. You need to see this now. He pulled up a news feed on the communications console. The image showed a Council border station, similar to the one where Yuna's journey had begun. But this station was surrounded by ships, human ships. The reporter, a floating species with multiple voice sacs, sounded panicked. The vessels appeared without warning approximately 2 hours ago. They claim to be human colony ships responding to what they call a reunion beacon. Council security has surrounded them, but the humans are not responding to any standard protocols. The image switched to show the human fleet. Dozens of ships, each one sleek and advanced, bearing designs that looked both familiar and alien. They had clearly been built using human technology, but had evolved over centuries of isolation. Day stared at the screen, tears running down his face. They came. They actually came. More news feeds lit up across the network. Another human fleet had appeared at a different border station. Then another. Then 3 more at the same time. Within hours, reports came from all across Council space. Human ships were returning. The Council called emergency sessions. Some wanted to open fire. Others argued for negotiation. A few suggested immediate evacuation of Council space. Panic spread like a disease. Then the human fleets transmitted a message. The same message, broadcast simultaneously from every ship. A woman's face appeared on screens across the galaxy. She wore a military uniform and sat in a commander's chair. Behind her, Yuna could see crew members working at their stations. All human. I am Admiral Taeyang of the Prometheus fleet. We speak for 73 surviving human colonies representing approximately 4 billion people. We received a beacon signal from coordinates in Council space. That signal told us it was time to come home. The Admiral's expression was calm but firm. We did not come here to make war. We came because someone called to us. Someone remembered that humanity once lived among you. Someone believed we deserved to be part of the galaxy again. She paused, letting her words sink in. We know what the Council did. We know how they forced our ancestors into exile. We found their historical records. We understand their fear. But 300 years have passed. We have grown. We have learned. And we have built something remarkable in the darkness beyond your borders. The image changed to show human worlds, cities that blended advanced technology with natural beauty, ships that moved through space with elegant efficiency, people of all ages living, working, creating. The colonies had not just survived. They had flourished. We offer the Council a choice, Admiral Taeyang continued. You can see us as a threat and try to destroy us. We will defend ourselves, and you will learn that 3 centuries of independent development have made us very capable of doing so. Or you can see us as potential partners. We can share what we have learned. You can share what you have discovered. Together we can build something better than what existed before. We do not seek to dominate. We do not seek revenge. We seek only recognition. We seek the right to exist in the galaxy that gave birth to our species. We seek to find Earth, our homeworld, and learn what became of it. And we seek to honor those who remembered us, who risked everything to call us home. The transmission ended. Across Council space and species argued about what to do. Some feared the humans would take over. Others saw opportunity. A few quietly admitted they had always disagreed with the exile. Councillor Vrex called for an immediate military response. He stood before the council chamber, scales flushed almost black with rage. This is exactly what I warned you about. Already they make demands. Already they speak of rights and recognition. Give them time and they will consume everything. But before he could continue, the chamber doors opened. Guards entered, followed by a figure no one expected to see. Telmara, the old keeper of the archives, moved slowly into the room. Councillor Vrex, the ancient being said, its colors shifting to shades of disappointment. You claim to speak for council security, but you are the one who threatens our stability. Telmara activated a display showing communications records. I have evidence that you ordered the destruction of the border station, where the first human was found. You tried to cover up her discovery. You sent assassins after the group who activated the beacon. You are not protecting the council. You are protecting your own power. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Vrex tried to argue, but Telmara continued relentlessly. The truth is that the council has been stagnant, because you and others like you made us afraid of change. You used the human exile as proof that different thinking was dangerous. For 3 centuries you have maintained control by making us fear our own potential. Telmara turned to address all the representatives. I am old. I remember what the galaxy was like with humans in it. Yes, they were disruptive. Yes, they challenged our assumptions. But they also inspired us. They pushed us to be better. Since they left, we have been slowly dying. Our art has become repetitive. Our science has stalled. Our societies have calcified. The old keeper's colors shifted to something like hope. These humans offer us a chance to live again, to grow again, to become more than we have been. We should not fear that. We should embrace it. After hours of debate, the council voted. By a narrow margin, they agreed to negotiate with the human fleets. A delegation would be sent. Terms would be discussed, but there would be no immediate violence. Councillor Vrex refused to accept the decision. He tried to launch a military strike anyway, using forces loyal to him personally. But his own officers refused the order. Some arrested him. Others simply walked away. The council, it turned out, was tired of being afraid. 3 months later, Yuna stood on a transport ship heading toward one of the human fleets. Beside her were Dae, Hyun, Jiwon, and Minho. Hana had been released from custody and had chosen to join them. They had been invited to attend the first formal meeting between the council and the human colonies. Admiral Taeyang met them personally. She was shorter than Yuna expected, with gray hair and laugh lines around her eyes. You activated the beacon. You called us home. We just turned on an old machine, Dae said humbly. You did more than that. You remembered. You refused to let the truth stay buried. Taeyang smiled. That is very human of you. She led them through the flagship to a conference room. Inside, representatives from dozens of human colonies waited. Each colony had developed its own culture, its own way of speaking, its own traditions, but they were all unmistakably human. We have been preparing for this moment, Taeyang said. When we received the beacon, we knew it was time. Time to stop hiding, time to reclaim our place. What about Earth? Yuna asked. Did you ever find out what happened to it? Taeyang's expression grew sad. We have located it. The council did not destroy it as they claimed. They simply quarantined it. No one in or out for 3 centuries. We do not know if anyone survived on the surface. But soon we will find out. A fleet is being prepared to return there. She turned to Yuna. We would like you to be part of that fleet. Your voice opened the door. It seems fitting that you should be there when we go home. Me? Yuna felt overwhelmed. I'm just an engineer from a small colony. You are the person who spoke when others had forgotten how. You are the voice that reminded the galaxy that humans still existed. Taeyang placed a hand on her shoulder. In our histories, we will remember this time as the reunion, and we will remember that it began with a young woman whose accent carried the memory of Earth itself. The negotiations with the council took months. There were disagreements and setbacks. Some species refused to accept human presence. Others welcomed it eagerly. But slowly, carefully, a new agreement took shape. Humans would be recognized as full members of galactic society. They would have the right to settle, trade, and participate in council decisions. In return, they would share their technologies and knowledge. They would help revitalize the stagnant societies that had forgotten how to innovate. Most importantly, Earth would be opened. The quarantine would end. Humans would return to their homeworld,